Today, I'm excited to introduce Alexander Korokov, a dynamic technology leader with a track record of delivering innovative solutions across the globe. Alexander is the current Chief Technology Officer at Cherry Labs, where he leads teams in developing advanced technology with a focus on IoT and data-driven systems. Alexander's journey has taken him from Berlin to Singapore to San Francisco, working with companies like Moeco and Lazada. In each role, he brought a blend of technical expertise and leadership, helping teams accomplish cool stuff, as he likes to put it. From overseeing global IoT teams and platforms to managing technical programs for fast growing startups, Alexander's experience speaks for his passion for pushing boundaries in tech. His expertise doesn't stop at project management. Alexander has patents under his name for system handling sensor data, a testament to his innovative mindset and deep technical knowledge. With a background that spans various industries and a unique perspective of technology leadership, Alexander is here to share insights on everything from managing international teams to the future of IoT. Please be very welcome, Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Nay. Yeah, that's quite impressive introduction. I'm honored to be here. Yeah.
I would like to thank you once again for accepting our invitation for this talk.
Yep. So, what's up?
So, I would like to understand more. How has your educational background influenced your professional outlook?
Well, actually, a lot because I liked science since I was a kid, and actually, I thought that I will pursue my academic career, and I was lucky enough to have quite a good school, one of the best in Soviet Union, mathematical school. And then I joined applied math faculty, and actually I spent there a lot of time with a lot of fun. I was enjoying math a lot, and I couldn't even believe that it will help so much in software development, which I was doing for 10 years after the university. And actually, it was quite valuable because it was so easy to handle new technologies, handle new areas of software development, of system design, of system analysis, of almost everything was completely filled with math behind. And that was that was tough because especially discrete math was really really tough to handle, but eventually it paid off really really well. So I still believe, and I ask every candidate in an interview when I'm hiring, something about graph theory, something about like formal logic, something about calculus, because I believe that it helps a lot and it structures your brain in a quite a, you know, uh, it structures your brain in a right side, let's say that, in a right shape. Because without structure, obviously, you cannot build good software.
Yes, I remember something that happened actually in discrete math, as you said. We used to have some problem to solve, which it takes us maybe two, maybe even three pages. And most of it, and the most important part, was exactly isolate and somehow you would take the variables and you are bring them to a common denominator in a way that the most important thing, as you just said, was exactly structure the problem, and then it will come with the solution. But the point is that you're going to spend time working that out first, not just jumping into it to bring a conclusion.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So the main point, as you mentioned, is that you usually look for and you expect people to analyze and think about things instead of just answer right away.
Yeah, 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 because there are no right answers. Any questions with the right answers you are using during interview, first of all, they are already in ChatGPT. And I don't want to talk to smart Tetris. uh, second, I'm not really interested how much person knows. I'm interested how he or she thinks, and I don't really care which is it right answer or not to my question. What I do care is the uh, line of thinking and how a person structures their answer. Which questions do they? How are they questioning me? That's really, really important. It's much more important than the right answer.
I see. This reminds me a little bit as well about languages. We have few languages that they are pretty much math languages. They are low context language. We can take as example German is a very straightforward language that also resembles math, and you can also work that out as variables because the grammar also brings you that. So do
Yeah.
you think that the language as well can not only affect the way that you think, but also makes your path through math a little bit easier or sometimes not that easier?
Yeah, I believe so. And probably that's why we have so many good physicists, Nobel Prize winners, mathematicians from Germany. We have a lot of good software from Germany too. And probably that's the downside, for example, of Chinese language, which is completely descriptive. So it's not implicit. And you always have to describe what you think, and you cannot express yourself in a very straight and strict way. And probably that's why we're still not using a lot of Chinese software worldwide. I mean, China is in Chinese software and it's like a bubble. They are using their software, but it's not worldwide known. Can you recall anything that we use that is made in China? I don't.
Yes, I understand. We usually have global softwares coming from Western countries, and
Yep.
we understand that the Eastern softwares they are usually very tight to where they are built up. For example, in Japan, it's very interesting because there are multinational companies like Sony, even Toshiba, that they export things, but they also have an army of freelancers who do that job, and maybe they take care of the core of the business.
Yeah, who knows? But Japan, by the way, it's a good example because we're using a lot of software made in Japan and we don't use it directly, but we use it like we are using Sony software in our TV, for example, or in laptops, in anything, right? That they do some software. And I mean, it's not worldwide known software, but we use it and we feel this quality. So it makes sense, as well as in Korean software, right? All these Samsung devices that we're using every day, they are made by Samsung developers, and most of them are Koreans. So I wouldn't say that it's like Western culture versus Eastern culture. We have a lot of software from Israel, for example, which is not Western and it's not Eastern as well. It's right in the middle. So I would say that language matters for sure. And by the way, Hebrew is very interesting language in that sense because from one point it's quite strict and the same time it's quite descriptive as well. So it's right in the middle.
I understand. Thank you for that. And just shift a little bit of what we are talking. How do you see that ethics can play a role and also integrity in your profession?
It's an interesting question because we've been working together in a multicultural environment and we've been working a lot. And ethics is quite nation specific. And one kind of nations, they have one kind of ethics. And another kind of nations, they have completely different or opposite ethics. And for some people, some gestures may mean that everything is fine. And for the other nations, the same gesture may mean something completely rude. And we all know those examples, right? And it's just a little example, but at the same time, it matters a lot because, for example, with Japanese people, you cannot look into their eyes because it's rude. You always have to look somewhere else. And if you are looking into the eyes, it means that you're a boss and you want something to be done immediately, right away, and you're angry. And that's how they perceive it. But at the same time, when I'm talking to you, we're looking into each other's eyes, and we feel like this is the contact of communication. We will not communicate without it. So ethics matter, and ethics matters a lot when you bond a company together. Really, because it's a huge value to have a multicultural team. And even in a startup, it's tough, but it pays off because people are bringing a lot of different ideas. And if you're stuck inside one culture, most likely you will stuck inside one set of ideas, and you will simply not reach any other ideas. But you have to be open to those ideas from different cultures, from different ethics, and you have to take it into account. And it's quite difficult to bond people together from different cultures, from different ethics. So that difficulty is a lot of joy, by the way, because when you see how completely different people who might even hate each other, like people from Pakistan and people from India, and how they are joining in the same goal, and how their effort is multiplying each other, and they start working as a team, and they forget about all those,
History, right? Because they
yeah,
have
all
a
this history. They simply forget about it, and they literally work together as a team, simply as people, right? We are all people, so that's a lot of joy to see how it works, and especially if you lead it, of course.
I see. And just for the persons that are listening to us, we have been working in multinational and multicultural companies for over 10 years already. And it's something very common that we always need to work about. It's exactly how people are going to bound together and how to prevent as well some groups to dominate other groups, because sometimes we have too many people from nationality A and too many from nationality B, and then we start to have this kind of group interactions that is totally natural. However, it can bring some damages. I mean, the team cannot be that much creative as well. They start to express some traits that they are cultural traits, and they may not be welcome to what you guys are trying to build here together, because it does need a lot of cooperation. Also needs side of the cooperation needs you to be in the same page, talk the same language, and just go for it and forget about the history.
It's a tough problem to solve, and I've been in a company for a very short period of time where I was the only Russian speaking person in the company, the only and the last. So that was quite tough, but cultural domination, it's not a bad thing if people speak the same language. I believe the language is the key. So if we have a rule that we all speak okay English, even if we can speak other language, we prefer to speak English everywhere, in the meeting rooms, during dinners, lunch breaks, whatever, during smoke breaks, right? Then this domination will decrease, and people will absorb all other, I mean, dominating culture will absorb all other cultures, and it will change, and people will open. But what is really wrong is when people are talking in Russian, for example, in multinational company, just because it's easier. So they simply put a time-ticking bomb that will explode, and will explode quite soon, because when we discuss some technical stuff in Russian and then we have to translate minutes of meeting in English, something will get lost for sure. Just because your mind already switched to Russian, and then you switch it back to English, then you write it down, and you have lost in translation issues. Then you have issues that you forgot something because you're a human. No one will check it, and then this bomb will explode. So yeah, I believe the only cure is to speak English everywhere, all the time.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with that. I remember one of the places that we worked together that this was always in there and it worked from the first until the last day. Everyone did speak English in front of you or behind your back or in the coffee time or lunch time, whatever. That was something really good because also we was working with over 150 different nationalities in the same company and that was a common ground. And considering all of those things, as we already mentioned in the introduction about you, what do you see as the biggest challenge in your industry today?
The biggest challenge in the industry, I believe, okay, we are working in startups, let's be honest. And startups depend on risk mitigation strategies and on strategies how to accept risks carefully. And these strategies must be in people's minds, and it should be venture investors who think that way, and they have to be sure that future is quite clear. And last maybe 3 years they lost this feeling, and the biggest challenge actually is to find enough venture capital for risky ideas, because there are a lot of them, and tech a little bit stuck with all those generative pre-trained transformers like ChatGPT, right? We stuck on clouds because there are no clouds, right? It's somewhere else a server, and we stuck there because and there is no actually there is no progress, and we are still using servers like we did 25 years ago. Okay, we found fancy APIs to make infrastructure as a code. We found fancy user interfaces to spawn those servers like this, but at the same time it's still servers, and technology didn't change. Internet works exactly the same way as it was working like 20 years ago. So the main challenge is right now is to find venture capital, and the root cause of this challenge is that venture capitalists, they lost faith in future, in long-term future. So right now it's really, really, really difficult to find any investments with a 5 years horizon. If you will find investments for 2 years horizon, you're lucky and it's possible. But for really complex projects, really risky complex projects, it's really difficult. We faced this with a few startups that I'm advising over last 3 years, and I believe it's a shame because starting with 2012 and until COVID, it was not an issue at all. We were always able to find a lot of capital for all the crazy ideas we had.
So let's go for it. You gave us a lot to talk about it, so thank you for it. As you was mentioning, the infrastructure is the same. That's 100% sure. This is solid. The point is that along the way, we start to have the same infrastructure as code and as service. So the server is still in there. You can call it cloud instance. You can have 100 cloud servers or anything you please. No problem. You still have a bare metal server somewhere. and
Yeah.
there are cabling, there are all of that things. And it comes all together with electricity. That is exactly one of the infrastructure problems that, as they say, to power up AI, we are going to need way more than we have today. And I'm not aware if you are building that as well, because as you mentioned, it depends on venture capital. Because when we are talking about electricity, we do need money, yes. It's risky, yes. And it's also complex because it depends on the kind of energetic metrics we are going to use. If we are going to use eolical, hydro, or even nuclear.
Yes,
And
yes, you're right. You're totally right because we have free energy from water and wind. We have kind of free energy from sun, which is not truth, by the way, because I mean it's a good idea in the secluded areas in the middle of the sea, but it's a bad idea for cities, definitely, because we will create more waste than we will actually profit from cheap electricity from the sun. So the only solution from my perspective is microhydro first, because we have a lot of mountain rivers that are not covered with microhydro, and they're quite, safe from ecological point of view. So there are a lot of techniques how to build microhydro power stations in a little creeks or little rivers up in the mountains and get electricity for free, right? And they're quite cheap. So currently in Holland there is in Netherlands, all right. There is a quite good company with micro hydro that can power up one house for one family, and this micro hydro costs around 10,000 euros, 10 maybe 14, and it works quite well, and it has a warranty for 15 years, I assume, something like this. And at the same time, there is SMRs, small radionuclear reactors. And right now in US, there is one company that already accomplished all the R&D, and they have already licensed to operate, and they're building first one. SMR is a little reactor that can power up a village, big village, all right. So not a house, but big village, not a city, and it's completely safe just because they spent last 15 years mostly on how to build it safe. That was their whole point. And SMRs is the future. For sure, we will have a lot of SMRs in 10 years. And for sure, it's a great investment, low risk investment to help them to actually take the market, because market is huge. And regulations are not that tough. They passed all the regulations already in US. So I believe this is the part of the future as well. What else? Well, tides are good, but tides, first of all, it's salty water, which creates a lot of erosion, and you know it's really difficult to find materials and to make it sustainable. There are a few projects, but they are more or less R&D. They are not industrial. So I assume, yes, we will need a lot of electricity, much more than we produce as a planet right now. But I don't feel it like an issue, real issue, because we have an enormous amount of uranium on the planet. Uh, and we'll figure something out with, safety risks. We, like 100 years ago, the car was completely luxury product that was owned by enthusiasts, and it was super dangerous. A lot of people died in cars that were produced in 1950s in US just because they didn't care about safety at all. There were no belts until Volvo invented these 3-point belts. So yeah, it was dangerous. There were security risks, but people found a way how to solve it. All safety risks are manageable. So and we know how to manage them. So I believe that's the way.
just remind something when you talk about the cars that they didn't have belts. Yes, was very dangerous, and this is exactly that part of learning, right? Things we cannot just anticipate all of them. They must happen in order for us to improve and get better. And also, the glass in that time was not tempered, so the glass also could cut you and hurt you way more than the crash itself.
Yep.
And mention about something very interesting that is part of the future and also bring us back to the past. We are talking about P2P technology, right? Because today our energetic matrix is pretty much centralized. And this is part of the problem that we need to solve in order to produce and build and have more energy. Because as already know, once the energy is distributed and maybe even off grid, when you produce your own energy, you are able to produce way more than a centralized power plant. However, of course, we're going to need not only regulations, but also we're going to need to figure out how to do that. Because considering everyone in a city producing their own electricity and maybe sending back what they are not using to the main gate, you may have more than enough.
Well, technically, it's solved already in Europe, and there are a lot of cities in Europe and in Norway where they produce much more than they consume. And in Norway, there is a time when government pays you to consume electricity. So literally in Stavanger, there is a time frame, like maybe 1 hour, when the whole city turns on their washing machines, just because government will pay you to consume it, because they cannot accumulate it, because accumulators are full already. So they need to spend it somewhere, and they are paying you. So I believe, I mean, I'm very optimistic about electrical grid, especially P2P distributed electrical grid, when uh, okay, maybe not every house, but at least one block is producing electricity for itself. I'm really optimistic about it.
Yeah, I like also to think about these ideas because we had notes along the ways that is also part of the innovation that not only technology but things become more democratic. I would say like that. For example, we have passed through a revolution quite recently when we start to have influencers or people that was just putting the content, creating materials, and just putting out there for everyone available for free. And this person just could start anything with a mobile. You don't need a big infrastructure or anything expensive or fancy. You just need, of course, a good idea, good content, and you can try it out.
Yep, yep. I mean, it's actually it's inspiring too, because as we can see, podcasts are really they simply replaced common media at all. So the sales for Disney Network, Netflix, all the sales are going down just because it's not interesting anymore. People are creating much more interesting content almost for free when they compete to each other and they compete to industrial content producers. And we see it like every day. We can we can take a look at TikTok. We can take a look at Joe Rogan podcast on Spotify. And I mean, everywhere, there is a huge competition for your attention. There is a huge competition for the quality of the content. And this competition could, I mean, it's possible only because we have decentralized ways of creation. And we can create electricity, we can create content, we even can create money right now. When we have a blockchains, we can create our own money, and it's fine, it works, and it makes world a better place, I believe. I mean, I don't like this phrase, but it's true.
I understand that. And now that you just mentioned about technology related to money, not actually money, right? It's currency. We
Yeah.
can talk a little bit about 2012 until 2021. As you mentioned, during that time, we had a lot of investment, and this investment was mostly related to innovation because we was also proving not only business but also ideas that were come the risk and also the complexity in order to make that happen. And for that, we need money that is affordable. And affordable money is usually money with low interest rate, as we had. And something has changed around 2021, if I'm not mistaken, when we start to have interest rate hikes. And that is when you mentioned that we start to have a loss in the appetite of the investors and the VCs, that they say, okay, I cannot just put in money in here because mathematically speaking does not make sense. I can just buy government bonds and will rent me way more, zero risk, zero problem. So you saw something like that before I mean 2022, 2021, or this is something that is happening now with us and is the first time?
Actually, yeah. I mean, it's a very deep topic because to understand the root cause of this is you need to understand how cross-banking and central banks work and how money is getting produced and how money. I mean, there are a lot of talks in message boards like, okay, we printed so much money, and that's why inflation happens. No, you can print as much money as you want, and it will never affect any inflation. That's not how it works. I mean, the bills are not money. Money are in ledgers. So yeah, and I believe that we're living in quite unique time. But those crises that happened in 2020, I believe, it's nothing new. We had this crisis in 2008, right? And if you have inflational economy type, not deflation but inflation, right? You must have financial crisis. Just because we do mistakes, we learn, as we discussed previously. And to clean all the mistakes, we need to have financial crisis. So it's kind of, yeah, garbage collection. We have a lot of garbage and we need to collect it. We need to pay for it, everyone, unfortunately. And then we can start over. And as you can see, right, these beautiful years of startups started right after the huge crisis in 2008. So
Yes.
without the crisis, there will be no startups, I assume. And the same happened in the previous century, in the beginning of the previous century, when it was a huge crisis, and after that, economy boomed right after war. Because war
Correct.
created crisis right after war, it was a huge boom in the economy in the end of 50s and the whole 60s. So that was fine.
So let's go for it. One of the crises that you mentioned right now was, if I'm not mistaken, was the dot-com bubble. It was in the
No.
beginning.
Dot-com bubble is 2000 sharp, I believe.
Yes, around there, right? And
Yeah.
okay, then we have a new trend, let's say like that. And the new trend, as we find out, was exactly the housing bubble that blows off in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And then we
Lehman Brothers.
was the startups trend, the
Yeah.
digitalization, and that is blowing off now, right? Since 2021 until now, we have a pandemic situation, and it's not, it does affect, of course, everyone, but it's not economical cyclical.
It was
Sorry.
2020.
So as we see in every, as you said, financial crisis and garbage collection, it comes a new trend. So we can assume that the new trend would be AI because we are pretty much pumped more than 70 billion USD into AI, and it does not seem the companies are going to stop that. So that would
Yep.
be the next trend.
Well, look, AI is useless right now. It doesn't actually produce value for businesses, a ton of value. Some businesses can use it, especially like support, right? Customer care. It's so easy to use AI for customer care, and everyone are doing it. But frankly speaking, right now it's useless in many areas, completely useless. What will happen, I believe that in 5 years it will be a huge adoption of AI in many various ways in businesses. And that will be the time when startups will actually add value to the market. I believe in IoT heavily because right now technology is so small that we literally have a smart dust. And right now is the time when IoT startups will be very promising. And of course, robotics. Robotics right now as in its peak, and I mean not even no. The exponential growth just started, I would say, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, and robotics is the future for sure.
All right. So as we are seeing now, as we just talked, during a crisis when a new trend emerges. So as you said, AI is not mature enough right now. Maybe in 5 years, fixing all the things and the problems and learning from it, it will get usable in a way that it can get something done. We also have robotics that it may need AI. Let's call AI would be some kind of brain or coordinator or something that
Mm-hmm.
will move hardware that will be the body of the robot. Of course, not only human robots, right? We have many different kind of robots, including in warehouses.
Yep. Internet of Things, smart dust.
Exactly, and IoT. So IoT will be the next, let's say, SaaS and services and give me all you have. AI will be something more specialized because it's the trend is where it needs to be in order to get something done and well done. And we're going to have robotics that will pretty much the hardware where the machines will be able to, let's say, walk around.
Yep. That's the future.
So we get there. We don't have uh, flying cars, but we have self-driving cars.
Yeah, probably. I'm not a big fan of this idea. I like driving cars. I will never use self-driving car. But yeah, why not? I mean, that's quite easy. Right now, only regulation stops us. Regulations, a lot of them, stop prevents us from self-driving cars. The technology is ready, and it's ready since 2018.
Very good, and also very recent. So we are adopting these technologies quite fast, which is also good because it's where comes the innovation. However, you
Yep,
mentioned about regulation. So unfortunately, there are countries that are going to be lagging behind because of the regulations, not because they cannot adopt or even use those technologies.
200 countries you mentioned.
No, there will be countries that because of the regulations they have, they will not be able to try out, to use, and to take advantage of these technologies that are coming.
Yeah, and it happens right now in Dubai. You can use crypto everywhere, and it's legal completely. In Euro Union, it's an issue. In US, it's an issue. In Singapore, it was allowed, then forbidden, then allowed again. So it's just a matter how country is open to innovation. Dubai is open to innovation right now. So yeah, I believe we will first self-driving cars will happen in Dubai or El Riyadh.
Understood. So it seems that, as you mentioned before, things are pointing to very specific places in the planet that have the regulations that we need, the technology that we need, and also the people to build that. And there are a
Yep,
few countries you are mentioning quite a few times. Dubai is one of them. So the other countries like we know nothing about China, right? But USA and Europe, those countries may not be leading these new changes.
for sure. I mean, they will lead R&D. They will lead all the science, inventions, patents. But when the wheel hits the ground, that's how it's told, right? I mean, when we will not find self-driving cars in Berlin earlier than in Dubai for 100%.
Understood. So you that are listening to us, start to look something into Dubai. And Alex, have you experienced a pivotal moment in your career that changed your direction? And what sparked it?
People who changed my direction.
And Alex, moving forward in our talk, how do you measure success in your job? And do you feel successful?
I don't feel successful. I feel that things are getting better and better each year. That's what I feel for sure. And actually, the best decision was to leave Russia in 2015, I believe, and to come to Vietnam and to meet you, by the way, because it changed me a lot. It changed the perception of the future a lot. I've met a lot of exceptionally good people, and I realized that software development that I loved whole my life is not it's a bubble, and you need to treat this bubble as other bubbles like sales, marketing, business development, support, supply chain, all that. And it really raised me up. That's what I would say. Yeah. So
Wow. And
you were asking about success. I believe the definition of success not it's not directly linked to your bank account. First of all, you need to feel a joy consistently. So you need to enjoy what you're doing week by week, and don't waste your life on something that you truly hate or just boring shit. Life should not be boring. Life should bring you a lot of fun. And this is the definition of success when you can afford it.
okay, thank you for your kind words. And I really like what you say, and I have some questions about it. And I would like to understand more about the year of 2015 when you mentioned that you left Russia. How it was for you? Because I'm not sure. It was the first time that you left your country to live somewhere else. Can you give us more context?
Well, look, I've been traveling almost all my life. And by 2015, I already visited around 50 countries. And I like traveling a lot, and I'm still traveling a lot. And 2015 was the first year when I actually left Russia to Dubai. And I thought it will be temporary, and I'm living to Dubai. But eventually, it happened that I left Russia until now, and it was not Dubai; it was Vietnam eventually.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it was the first year when I was living abroad, when I had residence outside of Russia, when it was the first time when I had long-term contract for the house, because before I was using Booking.com and Airbnb, and in Saigon we rented a huge villa. So I mean, it was a lot of new experiences, extremely exciting. I still remember when we were at Friday evening. You simply jump on your motorbike, you drive to the airport of Saigon, and you pick the destination right in the airport, looking into the TV with flights, Just okay, I go to what? Dalat. Yeah, I go to Dalat. And that was awesome time. I really enjoyed it a lot. We still remember those times as a very pleasant time of our life.
Yes, you understand what you mean because somehow you get a sense of freedom, as I could understand for about the way you talk. Also, you have a kind of 12 months span of summer. Pretty much every day was summer.
Okay.
And also you could, travel, make short travels, right? It's a small countries and you come from continental countries. So you could make some short travels to historical places like we have Dalat, we have Da Nang, Saigon itself, Hanoi, Hoi An.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, Vietnam is an amazing country, and it's completely different planet, and it's so exciting to explore it, especially in non-touristic areas like Dak Lak, for example, or this city. I don't even remember the name already, which is in front of Halong Bay on the other side, because usually people go to Halong Bay from Hanoi, but there is another way to get there from south, and it's incredibly beautiful place and not touristic, and I enjoyed it too. My wife enjoyed it, so yeah, Vietnam is a gem, and it's worth exploring.
All right, all right.
The city is Haiphong, and the island is Cat Ba.
Okay, okay. So thanks for sharing. And I heard as well that Vietnam, not only Vietnam, of course, Vietnam along with Thailand, they have become a very great spot for tourists. So they are getting to know a little bit more about Southeast Asia. And one thing we need to mention is that it's a very safe place, right?
Yes, it is. I mean, even here in Europe, we have not so many places which are as safe as whole Vietnam and most of Thailand. So it's really, really difficult to get into trouble in Vietnam. Here in Europe, especially in capitals, you can easily get into trouble. So yeah, it's completely safe, and it's cheaper. The food is completely different. Culture is completely different. It's full of history, especially Vietnam, which has quite sophisticated history. So it's worth seeing as a traveler. And I would say that it's worth living for 1 or 2 years just to feel it from the inside.
All right. Thanks for the tips. And moving forward, how do you respond to failure in your professional life?
That's the key to success. If you don't fail, you don't give it a try. If you don't give it a try, you're not growing, which means you're not improving. Failure is the main key to success. And if you were not at the age of bankruptcy, you were never an entrepreneur at all. You were never a business owner. You have to be at the age of bankruptcy to be a real business owner. Yes, 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 nay. The same with failures. You should embrace failures. You should love them. You should reflect on them. It's nothing bad to have failures. What is really bad is to keep doing the same failure over and over again. Is to do not get lessons, especially expensive lessons, when you're paying for the course, you have your exam and you fail it over and over again. That's bad. But failure is the main key to success and into self-confidence, I would say.
Understood. So as you described it to us, failure are the building blocks. your growth. We're talking about growth in many different ways. We are not talking about your confidence, as you said, but also your resilience, also as a person, because you are growing, you are developing, you are deciding to be a good person or not good person. That is on you. And when you mention about doing the same thing over again, in the case of the mistakes, that reminds a quote, I'm just not sure from who, maybe Albert Einstein. He says that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Yes, exactly. I don't remember either who told it, but yeah, I mean that's totally 1000% true.
All right, so we are going in the same direction. And how has your career identity evolved over the years?
I don't really know what career identity is because I was working as a software developer for 10 years and I ended up in a system architect for enterprise solutions. Then I was working as a project manager just because I was thinking that it worth to try to start business, but I was not confident in my expertise. And the closest to CEO is a project manager. So, I mean, if you will compare activities. And I was working as a project manager, and then starting with 2017, I believe, maybe even earlier, I started to get things done. So there was no identity in my career. If you will take a look at my LinkedIn, the roles are completely different. And essentially, I was pursuing one goal in all the companies that I helped to. I was marrying business and tech. I was improving value from collaboration between business people, product people, and tech people because it's really difficult for all of them to find common language, to work in a common ground. And for some reason, I can help, and a lot of people appreciate my help heavily. So I wouldn't say that it's identity. I would say it's like a path, that I've picked.
I understand, and something that you mentioned that is of course part of your philosophy that you mentioned to all of us that not only keep trying and getting better, but also have some fun. It goes exactly into this direction because you show clearly how you adapt from role to role into your growth. Because as you said, you was a developer, and from developer you become an enterprise architect. It's a different challenge, and
Yep.
you need to adapt. You need to learn, you need to figure out new things, and also is a different perspective of what you was doing before, which is extremely valuable. I really like to hear that because it shows that you are a non-Cartesian person. You do not go in straight lines.
No.
And when you mentioned that a project manager is the closer to the CEO, I understand more about the skills that the project manager need to develop in order to get things done, and is somehow similar to the CEO, absolutely in a different level, but it's something already on that direction.
Yes, it is. Uh, if you're asking the question how to evolve new skills, just yeah, that's what you're told, right? Just keep trying because you will try, you will fail. Then you will try, you maybe fail again, but in a different way or in a different time. But eventually you will. I mean, every single person was a kid. Every single person didn't know anything about profession. Every single person realized that after university, when you came as an intern to your first job, nothing is applicable from what you know from university to the job that you're doing. Literally zero. And you have to learn from scratch. So, as long as you keep learning, first of all, you don't age very hard because you keep yourself young because you're still learning. Second, this skill, this skill is a skill itself. Learning is skill that can degrade if you're not learning, and that can improve if you never stop. So I choose not to stop learning.
That's wonderful. That is really good because all of the persons who came to the podcast, all of the guests, they mention different things and they also suggest for the new generation what it could be good for them because they did themselves. And one thing all of them said was exactly what you did. Keep learning.
Yep.
That's really good. Is very interesting to see how related we are even when we doesn't know each other's because you do not know the guests, but you guys are speaking the same thing, which is really nice.
A lot of good teachers exist. A lot of good people will teach you for free just because it's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun to have interns. It's a lot of fun to teach someone some new skills and observe how people are improving during your work. So that's the thing, and the only thing you need to overcome this thing, this school experience, in case if your school was bad, because in some cases, I know people that love their school.
A great way of learning that in your time, in my time, our parents didn't like video games.
Yes, they didn't, and that was a mistake because I truly believe that if you stopped playing, you are degrading your skill of different behaviors in different circumstances. Because with the age, you know all the circumstances in life. You know, all right, family, no family, corporation, startup, big city, little village. You've been everywhere, and you know what to expect. Computer games give you this feeling of unexplored world that has its own laws that you need to adopt, you need to excel, you need to master, and with those new developed skills, you need to advance and finish the game. Especially like Elden Ring, for example. It's really difficult game, but it's really beautiful, and no one gives you any hints in the game. You need to figure out yourself, and it's so easy to stuck in this game, but it's so beautiful and so deep that if you overcome your laziness, it will teach you a lot about yourself, about your bad habits, about things where you're lazy, when you're not that sharp, when you're not that concentrated. And there are a lot of other computer games that teach you a lot of skills that are very applicable in your life in general and in your profession as well. For example, there is a wonderful game Factoria, which is very similar to software development. And I'm even joking that if you actually walked through Factorio to the end, it's much easier to explain to you how computer works, how to write good software, how to learn on your mistakes, because Factorio is the game that proves to you that you were wrong constantly. So, and it proves you, literally, it's a mathematical proof each time that you were wrong here, you need to rebuild it, otherwise everything will break. Then you need to rebuild this, and the whole game, you're rebuilding part of your big factory, and eventually you're making a rocket to actually fly out of the planet. So you start with the little X, and you end up with the rocket. And you have to build a whole supply chain from the coal mine to the rocket, to nuclear power station and the rocket. And it's great game. Minecraft is a great game. So I believe that our parents were wrong, and people should play the whole life because it's fun. Why not to do that?
Yes, and the more interesting things that I think about games is exactly the transition that we have done. So let me explain better. Over time, the population has growth, we have traffic jam, and the world is playful. You know, you take a stone, you throw into a lake, and you learn a lot, not only about force, but about gravity, about waves. You know, it's interactive, it's playful. Life, world is playful. And we transfer all of that to the games. So the games are mimicking the world that we have, which is really good because a game is a sandbox, is a safe play.
I wouldn't say that all games are safe for your mental health, because, for example, Dota is not, definitely. But yeah, in general, yeah, I agree that it's safe experience, and this experience is applicable to a real life. So yeah, why not? But I don't agree, Nay, that world is a dangerous place. 100 years ago, it was way more dangerous place than it is right now, especially like in Southeast Asia. I believe that we've made a huge improvement in social contracts that actually prevent a lot of people from crime, uh, not uh, not by the fear of God and the punishment, not by the fear of police and imprisonment, but on a moral codex of people, which is quite international right now, because you behave almost the same in US, in Brazil, in Vietnam, and you don't get into trouble. You behave like an asshole, and you do get into trouble even in Switzerland. So, and we all understand this moral codex. We all understand those rules, and I believe that world is getting better and better in terms of safety. It's way easier to socialize in computer games than to socialize with random kids outside. It's easier because in online you will find friends much faster, much easier, and you will have common context. Outside, people are different, and you need to learn how to engage with activities with them.
That is when come the social skills that somehow we are losing. We have a new
Yes,
generation of they are even calling Corona generation because was exactly the children that they need to be split apart because of the pandemic situation. So
yes.
they get used to be, I would say, isolated.
That was my third point that you told. I wanted to tell that pandemic made things even worse. I love that we are. I truly like that we're on the opposite sides of the planet, but at the same time we're thinking towards the same line.
The word is synchronicity.
Synchronicity, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, from
The
the
universe
different
exchange.
parts of the planet.
Understood, Alex. And what is the key to a fulfilling life?
Curiosity. That's all you need to fulfill your life. If you're curious enough, your life will be more than full. You will need to choose what to do. If you don't have curiosity, then your life will become more and more boring. So yeah, the only fulfillment in life is curiosity, I believe. The rest will come.
Okay, I like that. And recently talked into another podcast exactly about that. One question leads to another question. And this goes all together with not only curiosity, but the things that we talk, and not only about video game, about life be playful, about not only get to know things, but also take risks, do your things, and have some fun.
Yep, everything is for fun.
This was one of the best things for me to work with you. And I know another person that is very similar to you in this point. We are in very big trouble, but we're having fun, we are laughing, and we are moving on that. Because
Yeah,
when somehow you go in a different direction, you take things, let's say, way too seriously, it does affect your health, it does affect your body, it does affect your mood. And then it comes something else that you told me some time ago, that later on I get to read and I get to know more and I get to understand that is over 2000 years that was written down. Nothing ever happens. It's everything in your mind.
yep,
As long as you understand that, you will overcome whatever is on your way. So don't
yep.
bother much.
The deepest shit that may happen in your life eventually will pass, and maybe in 5 years you will recall it, and it will be not that deep, because if you have your fun, you will forget about bad stuff, and most likely you will remember something good. Yeah, it was not a good time, but it was not that deep. Probably you overreacted, and I believe that's quite important perspective to really difficult situations in your life.
Yes, I totally agree in that. I get to learn, I get to understand that, and I'm very thankful that you was there to say that. It was very important. And you have final thoughts?
Because we've been doing a lot, and this connection between business and tech is usually a problem for most of the companies who grew really fast. And usually to find common language is a quite difficult thing. And it usually, once you found it, you no longer need any help from outside. But at some point you do need help from outside, and it's not so many people. There are a lot of scrum masters, there are a lot of safe certified specialists who are coming and trying to put you inside some framework that may work or may not work. And probably why people are inviting me and listening to what I say and following my advices, just because I never follow any strict rules. I never follow the standards. And I first I look into business, then I look into problems, then I look into tech, and I try to tie it together to increase value. Because when you hire a bunch of outsourcers, like 10, they will perform as 10 people. But if you build a team of 10 people, they will multiply each other and they will simply deliver 100 value, not 10. And that quite difficult thing to build, and sometimes it doesn't happen naturally. And I've seen a lot of companies with a lot of people who are not working as a team. And at some companies I couldn't even help, just because they refused, and they were like, we are fine, we don't need this at all, we don't want to collaborate with those. Sometimes it happens, sometimes this problem is simply not solvable, but in most of the companies it's solvable. Once this problem comes to your mind, as a business owner, probably you need to reach people who will come from outside, do the job, and then disappear because they are no longer needed, because your team already has culture how to work as a team, not as a bunch of individuals. And probably that's what I'm trying to sell. And actually, this is the first time when I articulated it in a way of a pitch, because I was never selling it that way. But probably that's true. Yeah.
One of the things that reminds me what you described right now is synergy.
Yeah, it is. It is synergy.
And that is one of many other valuable points of a high performance team. I remember, for example, the work that you had done when you was working in Thailand with a mobile team, and you
Yeah.
make a totally revolution in there, and things just go off the roof, out of the charts.
Yeah, yeah. But frankly speaking, there were a lot of good people, but for some reason, yeah, they needed kind of, I wouldn't say guidance, but maybe, and it was not a supervision. It was just, this cheerleader, water boy. They were running on this field, and they were running really, really well, but they needed a water boy to gather around, take a shot of water, and keep running. So yeah, probably that's how it worked.